I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be brutally honest. How often do you say that you should practice more? How often do you say that you need to practice? How often do you wish that you would continue to practice or keep practicing more and more and more? Well, as a guitar geek, that number that you brutally, honestly answer is probably a little bit concerning because you feel like you spend more time saying you should practice than actually practicing. Which is why, over the course of the last couple episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, well, one last week, I'm going over the 3 pillars of purposeful practice. Last week we started with pillar number 1, which was priming your time, and today we're going to focus on pillar number 2, which is practicing with purpose. Next week, you guessed it, pillar number 3. But let's dig into pillar number 2, which is practicing with purpose. It consists of 3 distinct steps. Step number 1, I want you to have a minimum time commitment. Step number 2, I want you to divide your time. And step number 3, I want you to end on a high note. Now, that was a brief overview. Let me dig into each of these steps to give you what they specifically mean and, more importantly, how they actually act within your practice session. Now, this is provided that you've already primed your time. You set your intention, and you also have decided on which time and which place you're going to continually practice your guitar or regularly practice your guitar. So we've primed our time. Now we're ready to practice with purpose. And the first step is to set a minimum time commitment. Why is this? Well, I'd much rather you set a realistic minimum time commitment than an unrealistic maximum time commitment, because all too often I hear this among many guitar players is, oh, I'm gonna practice for an hour today, an hour tomorrow. You know what? I'm gonna practice for an hour every day of the week. That's not necessarily, or that could not necessarily be realistic for some players because, well, we have other life responsibilities. As much as we love living our best acoustic life and being a full-on guitar geek, real life things happen, and sometimes practicing for an hour every single day just isn't realistic. And I fell into this same trap. Right when I first started playing guitar, I was like, okay, I'm gonna practice for an hour every weekday, Monday through Friday. And Monday would start out great. I'd practice for a full hour, I'd feel amazing. Tuesday, I'd practice for like a half an hour and then I'd have to run to class. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll just take that half an hour and I'll roll it into Wednesday. So Wednesday was an hour and a half. Well, Wednesday I worked, so then I would have to bag that whole session, roll that hour and a half into Thursday, and then I ended up creating this momentum of ultimately negativity. And I don't want that for you. I'd much rather you set a realistic minimum time commitment, say 10 minutes a day or something that works for you to where it's achievable. And if you go beyond it, it's just a bonus. 10 minutes a day isn't all that much, and I'm pretty sure we can find just 10 minutes to play guitar every single day. And we can count that as a win, as opposed to feeling guilty about not practicing enough. You feel really good, you got your 10 minutes in, and hey, guess what? You got an extra half hour on top of that because, well, you finally had the time. So again, set a realistic minimum time commitment, and this is mostly for the positive attitude that I want you to maintain towards practicing. Now, once you've identified that time, I want you to then move to step 2, which is dividing your time. Whatever practice time you have, be it 10 minutes, a half an hour, again, whatever works for you. This isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. We have to tailor it to our own schedules and our own unique life situations. I want you to divide that time into 3 distinct areas. Number 1, I want you to warm up. Number 2, I want you to work on the meat of your intention, right? What you're really set out to accomplish in that practice session. And then lastly, I want you to have kind of free-form creativity. Let me explain. If you've got a half an hour to practice, actually let me drop it to 10 minutes. If you've got 10 minutes to practice, I want you to spend that first minute just warming up. Okay, now a minute doesn't seem like a lot, but if you dedicate a minute's worth of time to a specific warm-up and know that that's what you're going to dig into, a minute is actually plenty of time. And the warm-up's purpose is to get you reacquainted with the guitar for the day. Get your hands talking to one another, get your fretting fingers warmed up, get your picking fingers warmed up, get both hands communicating so that when you move to the next section of your practice, you're primed and ready to go. And that next section is working on your intention. Whatever you set out to work on that day, I want that to basically populate the middle chunk of your practice session. Say if we're, again, in a 10-minute chunk, make sure that that's, I don't know, say 7 or so minutes. So dedicate that time to the intention, working on something new, something that you want to learn, something that when you're done working on it, you feel like, wow, I've made some progress today. And then that last chunk of time, say in this case, if we spend a minute warming up, 7 minutes on our intention, that leaves 2 minutes left. Go ahead and move that into free-form creativity. Wherever the muse takes you, I want you to follow, because ultimately, that can lead to some really cool discoveries, and it relieves some of the pressure of, gosh, I really need to work on this thing the whole time. Allow yourself some creativity, because ultimately that's why we started playing guitar in the first place, to have fun and to create. So dividing your time is so important, and of course you can adapt that to what works for you. If you need to warm up longer, great, warm up a little bit longer. If you need to work on your intention for even more than that allotted amount of time, go ahead and do that as well. Make it work for you, but be conscious of dividing your time. And the last step, the most difficult step, and the step that I'm challenging you to do this very week, is to end your practice session on a high note. Now, I'm not talking about a note that's way up on the fretboard that's really high. I'm saying that when you set out and work on your intention, when you finally get that lick you've been working on or that little chunk of song and you get it really good, do it a couple times to make sure that you really nailed it. And then when you do it, the last time you do it, make sure it's awesome. Make sure it sounds so good you can't even believe that you did it. You did it from memory. Holy smokes, I played that lick from memory, all 2 measures. And it sounded great. I had great tone. Timing was awesome. At that moment in time, put your guitar away. Call it good for the day. End that practice on a high note. Why would you do this? Well, because of 2 distinct reasons. Number 1, you want to leave the guitar feeling really good. You want to leave at the peak. Sometimes when you go past that peak, you get to this point of diminishing return and you start to feel like, gosh, I actually learned something and forgot it all in the same practice session. I don't want you to do that. So leave your practice at the peak. It'll leave you feeling really good about what you've accomplished. And secondly, it primes the pump for your next practice session, because once you put that guitar away after ending on a high note, you're going to be so excited to get back to the guitar that it'll kind of perpetuate a playing habit, which is the whole point, okay? So just in review, practicing with purpose actually is composed of 3 distinct steps. Number 1, I want you to have a minimum time commitment, okay? I want you to commit to a realistic minimum as opposed to an unrealistic maximum. Step number 2, divide your time into 3 distinct categories: a warm-up period, working on your intention, and then free-form creativity. And then lastly, end your practice on a high note. Because when the going's good, call it good. It'll feel awesome, and you can actually start to feel this positive momentum building up. All right, last week on Acoustic Tuesday, we focused on pillar number 1, which was priming your time. We also heard from Yasmin Williams, who took time out of her busy schedule to answer our Acoustic Live questions. We learned a little bit more about Acoustic Tuesday viewer and Tony's Acoustic Challenge member, Kurt G., and we heard some amazing music from Nathaniel Murphy. This week on Acoustic Tuesday, we've already learned about practicing with purpose, pillar number 2. We're going to check in with Matt from Eddie's Guitars, who has an absolutely stellar guitar to show us with a new tone width that I've never heard before. You're going to be amazed when you hear it. And we're going to dig into some Luthiery schools, 2 of note. Both I've heard raving reviews about, and I want to share them with you. And last but certainly not least, we're going to check out a Canadian folk duo recommended by one of our very own Acoustic Tuesday viewers. That's all coming up right after this. I'm Tony Polecastro, and this is the Acoustic Tuesday Show. Guitar geeks, unite. Welcome to Acoustic Tuesday, episode 115. This is the show where you're going to learn about acoustic guitar gear, discover acoustic artists, and get inspired to live your very best acoustic life. As with all episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, I'm going to share with you my Guitar Geek list for the week. But first, I have to ask you a Guitar Geek trivia question, and here it is. Which guitar company started in 1890, originally operated under the name the Goodall Company? Was it A, Harmony, B, Stella, C, K, or D, National? Go ahead and ponder that, and at the end of the show, I'll be sure to give you the answer. Now, interestingly enough, some of those options, actually most of those options, were based in Chicago, so this trivia question is near and dear to my Chicago heart. As you can see, I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing right now. Judging by recent activity, things are not looking good, but I am hopeful. It's early in the season, but this is not a hockey show. This is a Guitar Geek show, and with me today is a fellow Guitar Geek, somebody helping me put all this together and be an amazing co-host, none other than Sir Noah Jacob Heckman Jr. the first. Noah, good morning to you.
Tony,
and cheers.
Good morning to you, and cheers as well.
Your eyes look, well, kind of road weary. Is it possible that you may have been on a road trip of sorts this weekend?
Yes.
Can you divulge just a few details about that?
Sure.
Because I just want to live vicariously through you.
I see what you did there. Was that intentional?
It wasn't, but I see what you did there.
Okay.
It's my first pun of the day, and I'm really excited that I'm kicking things off, unassumingly punning around.
So a few Acoustic Tuesday episodes ago, I didn't receive anything physically in the mailbag, but I shared that I received my electronic tickets to go see Tool in Salt Lake City for their current tour, for their recent release, Fear Inoculum, which is about, is it like 13 years after their last album or something?
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy.
So I took my two oldest boys and one of their friends, and we hit it hard. We weren't going for like some day's trip. We left. The concert was Friday night. We left Friday, arrived in Salt Lake about 6:30. The doors opened at 6. The opening band started at 7:30. Made it there. Ended up walking to the center because kids are crazy. They want to walk 2 miles. Fine. And then head back home the next day.
Whoa.
On Saturday. But it was a lot of fun. It was definitely enjoyable for me. A little touch point to my past, and something that influenced me. But also to take my boys and see them there and see them enjoy it, and just warms my heart as a dad.
Was it like? Wait, I didn't even ask you this. Was this their first metal or rock show that they had been to?
Yes, I think so. I took Leaf a couple years back to see Kansas when they came through Bozeman.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that's not metal. But yeah, I think this was like their first, hard metal show.
It's especially, there's you did good. You passed the torch. You know, you were there supporting them.
Yep.
And making them feel like, it's okay to be a metalhead.
Totally. Yep.
It's funny because a lot of us acoustic guitar geeks are metalheads.
Yeah, I tell you one thing, Mom isn't going to do it. So
it's cool to hear this story because earlier in the summer I took Aiden to see Slipknot, and it was a similar thing where it was his first metal show, and you could tell he had both emotions. He was equal parts anxious and equal parts excited. He was nervous about what was going to happen and how he was supposed to act, but once he was there, you could tell it was just like, this is really cool. It's larger than life in a way. It's really neat.
Yep.
I'm glad you guys had a chance to do that. It's so cool. Noah was showing me pictures and videos and whatnot, and I was pretty pumped.
I'll flash up a picture here for the peeps at home.
Nice. And we also talked about merchandise prices at shows, which, if any of y'all go to bigger shows at bigger arenas, it's really expensive. It ends up being, what'd you say, $75 for a hooded sweatshirt or something like that?
Yes, but it's totally fine if you're going because it's someone you really care about seeing, and knowing that the merch is where they really get their money from.
Right.
Also.
Right.
So that's okay.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Noah. I'm glad you guys made it back safe. I know we had a little bit of weather, so it was good to hear that the family returned all with arms, limbs, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm glad you guys are back safe.
I won't digress, but I'll just say, I could say a lot about people who shouldn't be driving. But okay.
Well, I want to dig into our What Do You Think segment for today, and this one is sure to bring about some opinions, and Guitar Geek opinions are awesome because we all have them, and we need a platform to share them, and the What Do You Think segment is certainly that, because I'm going to bring up a topic that will generally polarize the Acoustic Tuesday viewing audience and start a Guitar Geek discussion, and I think we all learn from it, so I think it's an awesome thing. Today's topic is, what do you think about cutaways versus non-cutaways? Are you one of those types that's like, no way, traditional guitars, no cutaways, I don't even want to see a cutaway. Why is a cutaway even on an acoustic guitar? Or are you one of those guitar geeks that's like, yeah, I actually favor cutaways. I use them, I utilize them, I dig them. Or are you somewhere in the middle and it's like, if the guitar sounds good, well, it is good, and I'll just leave it at that. Well, to make sure we're on the same page, I found a video from a guitar reviewer from some time ago that he's in an interesting phase of hair length. So I want to share that with you, and then we'll come back and I'll share with you my thoughts on cutaways versus non-cutaways. One of them, in my left hand, has a vintage sunburst and no cutaway, and the other one is pure natural but does have a cutaway. Other than that, these guitars are completely identical. Sitka spruce top, advanced X bracing. We have just shy of a 1 3/4 inch tusk nut, tusk saddle, Rosewood bridge, rosewood fingerboard, split parallelogram inlay, rosewood back and sides. You name it, in the guts of these guitars, they are identical. But one has a cutaway and one does not. So what we're going to do is play these guitars back to back so you can be the judge of, does a cutaway affect sound? Let's give them a play. Who was that guy? And can somebody please get him a pair of pants without holes in them? Maybe tell him to, I don't know, do something with his hairdo. Kind of a strange looking fella. Very, very awkward on camera. I do say so myself. But we wish him the best of luck. He seems like a swell chap. He just needs some more time on camera. Topic of the day though is cutaways versus non-cutaways. What's the deal? And do you like them or not like them? Well, my personal flavor is this. I didn't really like cutaways. In fact, it took me, I had not had a guitar with a cutaway that I purchased for my own use until I spec'd out the Custom Bourgeois OMSC from Matt at Eddie's Guitars. That was the first guitar I had with a cutaway because I had sworn off cutaways. I didn't think they were useful. I thought they impacted the tone, which I do still think they impact the tone. However, I couldn't find the use in them because I never went up that high. However, when I got this Bourgeois, this custom OMSC, I immediately started utilizing the area that was freed up via the cutaway. So I am of the camp that, you know what, I see the use for cutaways. If you capo really high, cutaways are a godsend because you can actually access notes that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. Plus it opens up a whole new area for creativity, which I appreciate as well. So I'm of the camp that, you know what, cutaways are cool. I dig them, and you know what, if the guitar sounds good and it has a cutaway, by all means, I'm jumping in for the ride. Noah, what's your take on the cutaway versus non-cutaway? Seemingly endless debate.
Well, starting off as the drummer and then bass player and then taking on guitar last, but also being a prog head, I was always about, you got to have the cutaway. I wasn't even a guitar player yet, and I'm like, oh, if you're going to get an acoustic, you got to have a cutaway because you got to shred. And you got to be able to...
You got to shred.
You got to shred.
You got to shred, it'll be great.
Not that I'm opposed to, a guitar, an acoustic that isn't a cutaway.
Right.
As long as it, it's what you're playing it for and what you're writing for, I guess.
Right.
But plus, I'll also say Travis Meeks uses cutaway most of the time.
We featured Travis on a past episode of Acoustic Tuesday. Travis Meeks is the lead singer-songwriter from Days of the New.
Yeah.
Does some solo stuff as well. Awesome voice, great use of alternate tunings, and Noah's confirmation that he does indeed use a cutaway. So that's what Noah and I think, but we want to know, of course, what you think. What do you think about cutaways? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll feature some comments on a future episode of Acoustic Tuesday to keep this Guitar Geek discussion rolling along. Now, speaking of Guitar Geek discussions, I got to ask Matt something. Actually, I didn't ask Matt anything about this next video that you're going to see. Matt sent me an email, and he said, "You're not going to believe this instrument. Please feature this on Acoustic Tuesday." To which I opened the email, and I always get wary when I see an email from Matt because it's always a guitar, and it always gets me drooling and gets my mind turning. And seemingly immediately I justify needing to own whatever guitar he sends over via email. So I opened this email, and it's a Goodall guitar that he just got in the shop, and it literally blows my mind. This guitar it's not a baritone guitar, to the best of my knowledge. I think it's standard scaling. And it handles lower alternate tunings like a champ, like a heavyweight champ, like Mike Tyson in his prime. This guitar, I want to say for the demo video, he tunes it down, the low string to a B, and it holds up. It actually still has integrity. It doesn't sound like a loose spaghetti noodle strung up on a guitar. It's amazing, and it features a tone wood that I had never heard before. I'd actually never heard of, nor have I heard it played. And after hearing it, I'm like, this guitar is, I think it's built for me, and I think Matt should just put it on hold, and I think Matt and I should talk. I haven't done that yet. I want to share it with you all. I probably won't because I think I've reached my guitar quota for the year. I digress. Let me let Matt explain to you all about this Goodall guitar with Nicaraguan rosewood. I went to write it out on my notes and I can't even spell it, so I'll just let Matt describe it and you can hear it for yourself.
Hello again, friends. Matt with Eddie's Guitars coming to you as always from St. Louis, Missouri. And Tony, we just got a guitar in that I had to share with my friends here at Acoustic Tuesday. This is the most recent guitar we received from Goodall Guitars all the way out in California. This is a custom variation of the Goodall Grand Concert model. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. I've been a huge fan of Goodall ever since we first started carrying them at the shop about a decade or so ago. I really love the way they voice their guitars because they all have this really three-dimensional quality to them, but not at the expense of a lot of detail in each note and a tremendous amount of nuance that they voice into their guitars. Very impressive. As I said, this is a grand concert, and I kind of view the grand concert as a more modern interpretation of the very classic OM or orchestra model that's been being built practically forever now. The grand concert is a kind of a medium-shaped, super comfortable size. Has a little bit more of a contemporary sound to my ear than the orchestra model due to the slightly deeper body, but again, a very versatile guitar, whether you're throwing, finger style playing at it or getting into more aggressive rhythm or flat picking. This guitar will handle it very efficiently. We have some gorgeous woods that were chosen specifically for this guitar. You can see the top is just an amazing master grade German spruce top. You can see just a really tight grain orientation there and just a super wonderful consistency throughout this entire soundboard. I really love the European spruces in general because they have a great level of harmonic complexity to them, and again, kind of have a very wide frequency response from lows to sparkling trebles. Really nice wide range there. The back and sides of this guitar are what frankly are the most exciting in my opinion. This is Nicaraguan rosewood. Frankly, this is my first exposure to this exquisite tone wood. You can just see how perfectly quarter sawn this particular set is with those beautiful dark streaks going all the way down the center of the back there, and of course that beautiful golden koa back strip matching the rest of the koa binding on the guitar. This Nicaraguan rosewood is new to me. It feels relatively light considering it's a Dalbergia, which is typically on the heavier side, meaning a rosewood, of course. My ear kind of associates it with really fantastic sounding Madagascar rosewood, but again, it's not quite as heavy as what I come to associate with Madagascar rosewood typically. So an exciting tone wood, again, one I'm just getting my first exposure to, but wanted to share it with you folks because it really sounds good. What I'm about to play for you here is in a rather low open tuning, which I will put on the screen there for you folks. I just want to illustrate how efficiently this comfortable size guitar handles a really low, rich sounding tuning. So we will take a listen to that now.
Pretty stellar guitar, no doubt, and I want to thank Matt for taking time to shoot a special video for us with that guitar. And I also want to encourage you that if you're interested in that guitar or have questions about it, or really any custom guitar, please reach out to Matt at Eddie's Guitars. He's a wealth of knowledge. As you've probably seen on past Acoustic Tuesday shows, we have a dedicated Ask Matt section because, well, we really honor Matt's opinion. He's had his hands on tons of guitars, designed tons of custom guitars through many, many different luthiers, and well, it's just a treat, the result. The results are amazing. He really knows his stuff, and I encourage you all to reach out. He's a friend of the show, which means he's a friend of Guitar Geeks across the world. So let Matt know that you heard about him on Acoustic Tuesday, and hit him up. He just trimmed his beard. Should I mention that? So the bearded Matt that you saw in that video, it's not that long anymore. It's shorter. He's still bearded. I
love what you said to me earlier.
What's that?
Of who he reminds you of. Now.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah.
Well, he posted a picture on Facebook. It's like him and then Zach Galifianakis, and I'm like,
oh,
I'm like, holy smokes.
So he started that. Okay.
He did start. Yeah, he started that. So I think Matt will probably start a show between two
guitars.
Between two mahogany trees or something like that.
Mahogany trees.
Oh, random factoid. So Whitney and I sat down, this was some time ago, we sat down to watch the movie version of Between Two Ferns, which is Zach Galifianakis.
I started it myself.
You did?
Yeah.
Who's in there as a musical guest in the background? Phoebe Bridgers. There she is.
I didn't get to that part.
With her platinum hair, performing in a bar during one of the scenes, and I was like, that's our girl right there.
Yeah, she doesn't know it, but she is.
Well, I want to move to some show comments that were left on Acoustic Tuesday episode 112, which was the Acoustic Tuesday episode focused on stomp boxes. And there was an interesting what do you think question posed about torrefication. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And you all certainly chimed in. So I want to reveal some of those comments, and there's also some great just overall guitar geekery that I want to dig into. Our first comment comes from Jim H. Interesting perspective on torrefaction. He says this: I think the price of torrefied tops has to be considered here. Not worth it to me. As others have mentioned, what is this process going to be on down the road as to being a true asset to the product in the long run? I will live with my 1991 Martin D41 and 2005 D18 in their natural state and be ever so happy with it. Thanks for chiming in, Jim. We certainly appreciate your opinion and appreciate you sharing your opinion down in the comments. Our next comment comes from Cole J. We were just talking about being a metalhead, well, not really a fully converted metalhead, because I would still identify as a metalhead. I think you would too, Noah.
Oh, yeah.
And Cole J says, former metalhead turned acoustic enthusiast from Melbourne, Australia here. Cole, the metal never goes away. Even if it's on hiatus, it'll come back. I assure you that. So don't worry. Don't worry. You can be both. I promise. He says, I just need to thank you guys for introducing me to the new Billy Strings album. It really is a masterpiece. I love the way he blends traditional bluegrass guitar and vocal tones with the contemporary sound of overdrive and chorus effects. An incredibly well thought out album that I will be revisiting over and over. Also, Tony, regarding the artwork, if you haven't seen it yet, there is an animated video on YouTube for Away from the Mire, which is absolutely worthwhile checking out. Cheers, guys. Keep up the top work. Thank you, Cole. I have seen that video, and it's cool. It takes the album cover style artwork, that American traditional tattoo, almost psychedelic type vibe, and turns it into a music video. It's moving, and it's kind of mesmerizing. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Cole J highly recommends it, and I echo his recommendation. I'm actually making up words today. Noah, I don't know if you realized I've added a couple to the vernacular. It's one of the talents that I have.
Not everybody has that.
I don't even know what I said. I just combined a bunch of words, threw them together, and was like, I guess I was trying to be efficient, like making a word, a sentence, a single word. Anyways. Our next comment comes from Charlene K. And this is actually more of a question, and I picked it because I think it's a cool question. She says, hey, Tony, have you ever played a tricone resonator from Republic Guitars? I'm really curious about them, but I haven't found any I can get my hands on. Well, Charlene, I have never played a tricone from Republic. However, I've played one of their resonator ukuleles. I want to say they make a resonator mandolin that I've played. Question mark on that. It could be a different maker. But I have played some one of their small body, I want to say it's like a Parlor single cone resonator. And I think in the kind of middle price range, say, $500 to a little over $1,000, $500 to $1,200. I think Republic resonators are really a fantastic instrument, a fantastic option. And one of the things I've noticed about all of their resonators, or the ones that I've played at least, is they seem to be using a lighter gauge steel for the body, which issues a really reverberated type sound. It's very lively. You get a lot of the metal, the metallicness in the tone. So I would definitely recommend, I mean, obviously you said you can't seem to find one to get your hands on. Check out online reviews, and my hands-on impression of Republic resonators are pretty darn good, especially in the price range. One of the things I will say is that just after playing a few of them, I noticed a couple of variations in the setup, and that could very, very well be because some are set up for bottleneck slide, which would issue a little bit higher setup than something that's straight ahead finger style. But that's just one of the things that I would at least evaluate before purchasing, was just the general setup and making sure you clearly communicate what you want out of a setup if you happen to be purchasing online or something along those lines. Awesome question. Thanks for asking, Charlene. The next comment comes from Presley Brown, which to me just sounds like a stage name in general. So this could be a YouTube moniker, but it could be a stage name. It could be a real name. If so, you are sitting pretty because you got a built-in stage. Presley Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Presley Brown to the stage. Anyways, he goes on to say, great show, guys. My Husson Dalton TDR has a Torrefied spruce top, and it is a very strong sounding guitar, but I haven't A-B'd it yet with an uncooked top, so I'm not sure how much of its sound is related to that. I would say that my next guitar probably will not be Torrefied because I like the idea of a guitar aging naturally through the years of playing, and I feel like cooking them kind of takes that away. Again, another awesome perspective on torrefaction. Keith D says, this is a follow-up. We featured his Guitarsenal, and he says, hey guys, thanks for showing my Guitarsenal. The Journey OF660 is called Antoinette because, like the last Queen of France, the Journey has a detachable neck. Badoom ching. And then he says, okay, sorry. You don't have to be sorry. That's right in line with the kind of humor that we welcome.
Yeah, that's metal.
That's very metal. That's medieval metal, kind of, you know? Maybe not quite medieval, but, you know, working towards that direction. Our next comment comes from Shane R., who you may remember. He was sitting pretty in the back of his pickup truck, sporting a fine Acoustic Tuesday for Vets t-shirt. He says, another great Tuesday show, not to mention that cool dude on the back of the pickup truck. Hee. Keep pumping the Guitars for Vets cause and guitar geekism. I ran into Guitars for Vets setup at the Dallas Guitar Show October 5th. I was wearing your t-shirt and they asked about the Acoustic Tuesday effort and gave it a thumbs up. Thank you so much, Shane, for supporting the cause and spreading the guitar geekery. Frequent Acoustic Tuesday commenter and viewer Jess Jones says this: my D18 has a Torrefied top, and I'm in love with it. And I want to say that I am too, Jess. I actually saw a recent video of Jess playing at an open mic, one of his very own original songs. He shared it on Facebook, and I was just scrolling through. I happened to catch it. I thought it was a great song, so if you're in the Play Every Day Facebook group, make sure to check that out. Stop by and listen to the song and give Jess a couple comments. And the song is titled Good for Nothing, and I thought it was just an awesome performance. So thanks for sharing, Jess, and thank you for commenting. Our last comment comes from Mike W. And he says, hi, Tony and Noah. Enjoyed your Acoustic Tuesday, especially about the Stomp Box. Tony, you mentioned a female fingerstyle guitar player, but I missed it. Gwennifer something? I'm probably spelling it wrong. Can you reply with her name properly spelled, please? Thanks in advance, Mike NL. Yes, Mike, absolutely. So her name is Gwennifer Raymond. She's I believe she's based in the UK, very much along the lines of John Fahey, that American primitive guitar style. And her name spelling, so you can look it up on Spotify or check it out, is Gwennifer, Gwennifer, last name Raymond, Raymond. And of course, you can go to acousticlife.tv to find out more about her as well. There's some performances and things on there, so you can do a deeper dive. So I want to thank everybody for commenting on the show and just overall being awesome, supportive, conversation starting and continuing guitar geeks. We certainly appreciate it. And coming up today, I've got a great artist, a duo that was actually recommended by an Acoustic Tuesday viewer. We do have to visit the mailbag, which has taken an interesting turn. You'll see what that I'm talking about there. And then, of course, your trivia answers coming up. But first, I want to dig into a couple of Luthiery schools. I get this question a lot, like, hey, you know, I think I'd be interested in building a guitar. In fact, Sharon asked a comment a couple episodes ago. She said, hey, Tony, would you ever be interested in building your own guitar? Absolutely, yes. It's on my bucket list for sure. And this is what kind of propelled me in this direction of research. These are two Luthiery schools that I've heard nothing but amazing things about. And I wanted to share them with you. Now, you might be thinking, Tone, I don't have 3 months or 6 months to go through a full-on program on how to build a guitar from scratch. But you don't have to do that with these schools. In fact, they do offer those programs. And some of you might say, hey, you know, that is right up my alley. I would love to check that out. But they also offer workshops. So I want to put these schools on your radar because I think they're two of the best from what I've heard and from what I've seen. So the first one, we're going to go to Big Rapids, Michigan, and take a look at Brian Gallup's Guitar School. Now they have workshops, they've got full-on classes, they've got a smaller shop, so it's a little bit smaller class size, so you get really good focused individual attention. And they do offer workshops. I think I mentioned that already. They offer workshops and whatnot. Brian Gallup builds some amazing, amazing guitars on his own, but also does this school. In fact, I believe he founded the school with Dan Erlewine, who you may recognize from StuMac's website, doing various different tutorials on how to fix your guitar. So here's a quick little video about the inner workings of the Gallup Guitar School.
This is Gallup Guitars. We've got a lot of different things going out of here. Brian builds his guitars here. He runs his repair shop here. We run a school teaching people how to build and repair guitars here. We also have a CNC department that makes jigs and fixtures as well as does programming for other builders. So we got a lot of things coming out of the shop.
The time it takes to build it, we figured there's about 60 hours to put into that. You know, between gluing everything up, you have to wait for certain things to dry for a certain amount of time. And then when we spray the finish on the guitar, that typically doesn't take long to spray the finish.
Selecting your materials is going to be obviously the first step, as with the neck is obtaining your materials. And for us, we do a lot of material testing before we actually begin building the guitar. And basically, to keep it simple, we determine the ideal thickness for each piece of wood, because not every piece of wood that comes through here is going to be of a quality that is deemed acceptable for one of the Gallup guitars.
We do build custom guitars. Recently we've just made a guitar for David Crosby.
Probably about 2 years ago we did one for Jeff Daniels. Pretty much most of the players for the guitars that are built in this shop are like world-class fingerstyle musicians.
The higher end ones are more custom, and then we have like a bass line that we basically make a few models here and there.
A lot of big name players, as well as just a lot of guitar collectors and enthusiasts are kind of the ones that we see most often though.
The school we offer, there's a 2-month and a 6-month program. The Journeyman's program is a 2-month program. And we basically go through and show the students how to properly set up, work on instruments, and in that they also build 2 guitars. The master's program is a little more, expands upon some of that building and the techniques.
We've got students that come from all over the world, from all different backgrounds. We've got students that have barely ever touched a tool in their life, and we've got students that have been cabinet makers their whole lives. Recently, we've had students from Austria, Germany, Australia, England, all over Canada and North America really. People kind of come from all over, and like I said, from all different backgrounds. While everyone comes from different places, they all definitely have kind of the same things in common when they come here. So you can get in touch with the school from the website. On gallupguitars.com there's a section for the school. It gives you a breakdown of all the courses that we offer, including the weekend seminars, as well as the contact information for the school and the different terms that are available.
So definitely put that on your list for all of you Midwest folks. Keep your eyes peeled, you know, check in with their website, check in with their Facebook page and see what's going on. And if you're in the area, I would recommend just dropping by and seeing if you can schedule a tour just to see what's happening there, because seeing creation like that really gets you in touch with the acoustic guitar and almost helps you bond with fellow guitar geeks in just another layer deeper. There's a lot of layers to us guitar geeks. We're a lot like onions, but the good kind of onions. Not yellow onion. I don't like yellow onions. Red onions. That's what my dad always says for potato salad. Steve says red onions. Got to have the red onions.
Red onions are good.
Yeah, not the yellow ones.
I was just thinking about building my own guitar and just going for it and like asking if I can torrefy my top and build a cutaway and
Doing all the things.
Doing all the things.
I love that. That's good. I like it. I like your train of thought there. The most a controversial guitar ever built, like a Cutaway, clear up the fretboard, Torrefied.
Distressed.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift our focus to a guitar school in the South, one that I've actually heard personally very, very good things about. In fact, an acquaintance of mine, Mitch Nelson, whom I worked with way back when at the Old Town School in Chicago, this was probably 2005-ish, he was telling me about this Luthiery School. He was actually a graduate. Now he's gone on, and I believe he still works at the Third Coast Guitar Repairer in Chicago. Again, his name is Mitch Nelson. Hi, Mitch, if you're watching. Fantastic luthier, really smart. He actually shared a lot of his knowledge with me while we were working at Old Town School in terms of setup and things like that. I certainly did not learn how to build a guitar from Mitch, but he did share some little tidbits of information and things like that that I found incredibly useful and I still find useful today. And he graduated from the Roberto Venn School of Luthiery, and that's in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, they started in 1975, so they've been around for 40 plus years, and when I looked at some stats, I guess I checked this out. At the time, they had graduated almost over 1,200 students. That number has grown significantly since when I checked in on this data. I believe that was 10 years ago, a figure from 10 years ago. So they've graduated a ton of students. Mitch had nothing but great things to say about the program. It's a fully immersive program, but again, they do offer workshops and things like that. And if you look at some of their graduates, you'd be amazed. Jason Costel is the one that jumps right out at me. We haven't featured him yet, but he's coming up on Acoustic Tuesday. He builds incredible instruments, and he's a graduate of the Roberto Venn School of Luthiery. In fact, there was a film that was made. It's about I want to say like a 30 or so minute film called The Path of a Luthier, focused on, well, Luthiery, but also specifically Roberto Venn, its start, how it got its name, and how it's grown since its inception in 1975. And really cool film. It's free, and I'll link to it at acousticlife.tv/AT115 so you can take it all in. But let's just look at a quick snippet so you get a feel for what Roberto Venn School of Luthiery is all about.
The school started out as a dream. Oddly enough, John Roberts, one of my partners in this back in 1975, had been living in Nicaragua and had a dream to build a boat. And the boat ended up becoming a whole bunch of wood that he collected, and he decided to ship it to Arizona. And I always think of that original dream as really a metaphor for our school. It's been a vessel, and that vessel has carried all of us, more than 2,000 graduates, to learn how to make guitars and create a living and an occupation and fulfilling dreams. Our curriculum really has been the foundation of the school, our guitar making and repair course, going way back to when we started. John Roberts built acoustic guitars, Bob Venn built electric guitars, and the two of them came together in a partnership, and I joined them to help start the school in the administrative part. The concept was, we'll build a guitar. And each student built acoustic and electric guitar, and that's the foundation of learning the processes, the techniques that we teach.
I started drawing instruments and kind of was obsessed with the idea at some point, wanted to learn, just didn't know how I was going to learn. And then just happened to pick up the newspaper. In 1993, I was living here in Phoenix and saw an article about the school. And I was pretty shocked, considering I didn't know that there was even an opportunity to learn this, let alone it was in my backyard.
It's fascinating to me to read the applications and find out where they're coming from, what their interests are. Most of them are players, and they're interested in the guitar, and they also are looking for something else. It's a hands-on kind of way of life that's quite different from academic study. They really feel the wood. They get back to our roots about learning about trees. It becomes a very informal way to get to know people and see a life's journey. We watch these changes happen, and the changes are pretty significant.
Okay, to learn more about either of those schools, the Gallup School up in Big Rapids, Michigan, or the Roberto Venn School of Luthiery down in Phoenix, Arizona, please visit acousticlive.tv/AT115. You'll see links to check out their websites, which I highly recommend, again, just for the sake of if you're in the area and you see that there's a workshop going on, make sure to check it out. Some wonderful knowledge, even if it's just a basic setup workshop. I think it's something that all acoustic guitar geeks can benefit from, because sometimes we feel like we're holding these unruly machines that we don't really know how they work. And doing those workshops and things like that really gives you a much more intimate knowledge, and it almost empowers you to fix the little things so you don't feel so helpless when it comes to your guitar kind of feeling like it's out of whack. All right, moving right along. I want to dig into some guitarsonals before I fully smack my coffee off the desk, because I'm apparently I talk with my hands quite a bit, Noah. I don't know, I've reviewed the footage on Acoustic Tuesday, and they're just like flying around.
Are you not supposed to do that?
Am I not supposed to do that?
Is that like in the professional, like when you're giving a speech, you're not supposed to flail your arms?
Good question. Oh, well, if that's the case, I'm certainly far from professional. I probably would never be considered for a newscasting role. Although I would say this: if I was to become a newscaster, my news show would be really fun. It'd be really fun.
You know what I have to say? I think gesticulating with your hands and arms help. Like,
it makes the point,
and can support what you're saying. And I would prefer that than thousands of ums and ers in between words.
Which I throw in also.
Yeah, you're pretty good about not doing that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks. Well, let's dig into some guitarsonals. I've got some great stuff here. In fact, we're going to see one of our very own Acoustic Tuesday featured luthiers wearing an interesting outfit. We'll get to that. Our first guitarsonal comes from a place that I cannot pronounce. I'm going to try my best, and you all can please feel free to correct me in the comments. I appreciate phonetic spelling. Here we go. This guitarsonal comes from Burbage, Leicestershire, England. Maybe it's just Leicestershire. Leicestershire. I don't know.
Well, think about Gloucester, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
You just ditch those letters. I don't know why they're there in the first place. Leicestershire, England. This comes from Alan C. He says, "Hi, Tony and Noah. My first year on Tony's Acoustic Challenge is up this week. I've played every day except this month when I had a holiday from the UK to Canada. Fabulous country and people." I agree. I have a Canadian fixation. Long story. We can get into that in a later episode. Ooh, that just gave me an idea for a future episode, a special episode. Canadian guitar geeks and Luthiery and artists and all sorts of anyways. Okay. He says this: "After 2 weeks of not playing, I had withdrawal symptoms and had to find a guitar shop, which I did in Kelowna. It's called Wentworth Music. I explained to the chap behind the counter my dilemma and all about Tony's Acoustic Challenge and Acoustic Tuesday. I had my guitarsonal shirt on and requested he take a pic with one of his guitars. Say no more. He marches me off to the guitar pen and wow, gives me a top-of-the-range Taylor, takes my picture and says, 'Play any you like off the wall.' Well, I did, like a kid in a toy shop. If this email gets to you, please give them a mention. Very helpful people in the shop. And so I will do that. So if you're in Kelowna, I believe that's in British Columbia, I hope I got this right. Take a look at Wentworth Music. Apparently, Alan says they are fine, fine folks. He says, also is attached my guitarsonal taken in the spring. Notice the daffodils. Well, we appreciate that right now because it's cold and snowy here. Left to right, a Takamine G406S, New Yorker, spruce top, rosewood back and sides, a maple V inlay in the back. Unknown classical, that's next in line. Nothing in the sound hole, 3 steel, 3 nylon strings. I think it's maybe a Cordoba. A Stag hollow body semi-acoustic A300 maple jazz type guitar, a Taylor 520E all mahogany guitar, which is now discontinued, a Tanglewood TW400, and 2 very low maintenance dogs. And I'm beginning to think that those dogs probably don't eat that much, which is good because you can go on a trip like you went on, come back, and they're still happy as little clams. He says, not a great collection, but I love every one of them. You know you're a guitar geek when you love the backs as well as the fronts. Totally agree. Added another pic of me at a guitar workshop in the UK, promoting Tony's Acoustic Challenge again. Thank you, Alan. We appreciate it. With Brooks Williams, an amazing USA country blues guitarist who flies back and forth to the UK. Check him out. We certainly will. And he says this, regards to all at Tony's Acoustic Challenge. I will set the bar at 0 and measure progress from today for another year. Well, we wish you awesome progress, Alan. Thank you for sharing your guitarsonal from that place that I cannot pronounce. Next one comes from Syracuse, New York. This is from Don P. He says, hey, Noah and Tony, this is my Shaky Graves starter kit, a 14-inch kick drum made from an American Tourister suitcase and a Canadian Godin 5th Avenue. Proud to be a part of the Guitars for Vets and Tony's Acoustic Challenge family. And I want to thank you very much, Don, for going ahead and purchasing an Acoustic Tuesday for Vets t-shirt. We appreciate that, and so do the folks at Guitars for Vets, because all the proceeds from that line of merchandise goes directly to Guitars for Vets as a donation on behalf of all of you guitar geeks who purchase one of those pieces of merchandise. Now, next up, you're going to see, a man, a myth, a legend of sorts. I've got a lot of comments about this, but this picture came in via email. This is Matt Ike. He's from MuleResophonic Guitars. He started MuleResophonic Guitars. He builds a fine resonator, one of my favorite personal resonators. I got a steel body tricone that I absolutely loved. I used it to record with, and it's a stunning instrument. I get a smile every time I play it. Well, here Matt is, and he is sporting an Acoustic Tuesday for Vets hooded sweatshirt, so thank you very much, Matt. They also made a donation on behalf of MuleResophonic Guitars to our cause. Thank you for that. And I also have to add that he is sporting a certificate from Scotland. And he sent me an email. I'm spacing on what the email actually said, but he's holding the certificate and he's got a kilt on, right? So I get this picture in my email and I see this, and I first of all can't wait to show Noah, because Noah is a kilt wearer as well. And so Noah and I are looking at the picture, and I also noticed, I'm like, I think those are Red Wing boots. Those are really cool looking boots. So kudos for the boot choice, Matt. But also, I come back to my computer. This is within minutes. And I get another email from Matt, and it says, and with about 40 A's in it, the kilt's on backwards. So we appreciate the effort, Matt. A for effort. And of course, bottom line, thank you so much for donating to the Guitars for Vets cause. Thank you for building stellar instruments. We certainly appreciate all the work you're doing. And also, make sure to check out MuleResophonic Guitars' bottom line as instruments, but also make sure to like their Facebook page and check out the really cool resonator community that they have going on their website. I believe it's MuleResophonics.com, and there's a whole community of really cool folks playing resonator guitars, showing off pictures and things like that. So make sure to get involved in that. And then the reason I say like their Facebook page is because occasionally they will have an instrument that they're auctioning off for charity. And this gives you a chance to skip I believe it's now 8 months to a year wait time, and have a crack at an instrument and have the money go to a really good cause. So keep that in mind. Make sure to like their Facebook page. And again, thanks to Matt and all the folks at MuleResophonic Guitars. Now, lastly, we're in the midst of this big fundraiser for Guitars for Vets, and you can learn more about it at vets.com, at4vets.com. And one of the things that I've been striving to do here on the Acoustic Tuesday show and for the entire guitar geek community is really show the good that Guitars for Vets is doing. It's one thing to read the slogan, putting the healing power of music in the hands of our heroes. I think that conjures up a lot of imagery, but it's really nice to see the people that Guitars for Vets is really impacting. So we have Daniel here, who is a Guitars for Vets Carolinas chapter graduate. He recently graduated, so I want to congratulate Daniel on completing the Guitars for Vets program, and also wish him luck on the rest of his guitar journey, and hope that he continues to feel that healing power of music as he wades the waters of guitar geekdom, and kind of just welcome him to the Guitar Geek family. And for those of you wanting to participate in the Guitars for Vets fundraiser, it's actually really easy. Go to at4vets.com and you can contribute in 4 ways. Number 1, if you purchase any Acoustic Tuesday for Vets merchandise, all the proceeds for that goes directly to Guitars for Vets as part of this fundraising effort. You can make a direct monetary donation right off of that page, at4vets.com. You can recommend a company we should reach out to in the comments below to see if they would like to be involved in our fundraising efforts. And then lastly, please share the fundraiser. That's something you all can do right now. Just share it with your Guitar Geek buddies, your local store, your guitar teacher, just family, friends. Everybody needs to know about this, because Guitars for Vets does such amazing work in really helping folks heal using the healing power of music, something I'm pretty sure we've all felt before at one time or another in various life situations. The guitar seemingly is always there to offer support. So please share that fundraiser. Again, at4vets.com. In fact, we've got a really exciting live show coming up November 11th, which will be super, super fun. We'll report on our fundraising efforts and also do some really fun features and things like that. Excuse me. All right, let's check out, this is the point of the show where we go to the mailbag. Now, next to me is nothing. However, Noah has another towering stack of mail on his desk. And Noah, it's time for the mailbag.
Okay. Tony, it's not a huge stack, okay? But here's where it gets twisty.
Oh, stop. You're modest.
So not only did you not get anything this week, but I did, right? That's a twist.
Yes, correct.
But it gets a little further twister.
I see what you're doing. You're just trying to match my word creation skills. And
So
I appreciate it.
this comes from, as we like to call them, right? Grandma and Grandpa Tack out of Helena. Joe and Don, although sometimes that gets a little mixed up.
Yeah, sometimes it goes to Doe and John.
Correct.
It's just, yeah.
So I get this little package, get this cool little card.
I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah. Some symbols there.
You just did a Steve Brule.
And it just says, Noah, just because. Don and Joe.
That's awesome.
And here's what came in the package. I got a shirt.
Oh, dude.
But here's the second twist. It says, Scotch goes in, wisdom comes out. So not only did you not get anything this week, and I did, but it's something that mentions Scotch specifically and no bourbon mention at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So there you go. Thank you.
No,
very much.
I'm happy for you. You
I know.
I can set my ego aside and say, you know what? Noah deserves mail. So thanks for sharing that, Noah.
Thanks. I appreciate the support.
Well, hey, yeah. I received mail as well. It's not here. I promise I'm not
it's not
making
here.
this.
I received mail.
I swear, I got mail too. Yeah, of course.
Big package.
No, I ordered, a couple weeks ago on Acoustic Tuesday, we were talking about effects, electric guitar effects on acoustic guitar, whether that was a big no-no or something that was cool. Well, I've decided to just jump full into the black hole that is effects pedals. And I ordered the Electro Harmonics Mono Synth. I don't know what the hell it does. It makes cool sounds. But I will say this. Here's a review from my wife. I close the guitar in the guitar den. I plug everything in, and I've got it cranked because I'm pumped to hear this pedal. She opens the door. She goes, "What the hell is that? What is that? What are you doing? What is happening in here?"
I could hear her say
And
that.
it's just like, I was going to say a certain type of grin. I'll let you fill in the blank. And I'm like, I got new pedals. And without even hesitating, she's like, "You ordered more pedals?" She goes, "You have barely tried the first ones you got." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yep.
sorry."
Yep.
So that was a cool thing that arrived. I just don't have it here because I was experimenting with it over the weekend. But thank you for sharing, Noah, and thank you to, I almost said Don and Joe. No, that is right.
Yeah, that's
I almost
correct.
said Joe and Don.
Yes.
And cheers to those guys up in Helena. We appreciate it. Well, let's dig into the artist of the week. This came in via recommendation from Jim W., and he submitted this at acousticlive.tv as a folk duo that we absolutely have to check out. Now, Jim is from Lewis Center, Ohio, and he says this of the duo in question. Singer has a great voice and style, and the guitar player is an amazing Travis picker. Their songs tell some very dark stories. Coulter Wall turned me onto them. They're from around the same area in Canada. They've toured with the Decemberists. I don't recall seeing these guys on AT, so I thought I'd mention them. Well, Jim, I'm certainly glad that you did. Now, just so we're all on the same page and we know who the hell I'm talking about, this is Casey and Clayton, a Canadian folk duo that I have some interesting sonic notes on. But first, let's hear one of their tunes. So this is their tune called A Certain Kind of Memory.
And shake it. I didn't give you my heart just to break it. Look away, my love. Look away from me.
All right, so now that you've heard them perform, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is almost this, and this is not a knock at all, this is just me trying to find where they sit in my brain. They almost have a Mazzy Star type vibe, kind of dark, reverb-soaked vocals, lighter female vocals, and the guitar playing is exceptional. the fellow that plays guitar, he does these really cool bends that really add to conveying emotion, and they're almost, I wouldn't say that they're even pitch-specific bends. Sometimes you bend a guitar string to try and bring it into a certain pitch, and this is more of like, almost like a emotional bend, where you're just bending it out of the sake of adding that emotion to the tune. I'm trying to put this sound into words, and I'm struggling. I feel like the water's like closing in on my nose at this point. Anyways, let's listen to another tune that really shows off what I'm talking about in regards to this guitar player, and this tune is called A Lifeboat.
Now your face is flushed and your eyes are bloodshot red. You can't take it on your own, so you take a stranger home instead.
Hopefully that sonic sample delivered more to you than my monologue trying to describe it. One of the other things that strikes me about Casey and Clayton is just the overall vocal prowess and how the voice, there's this thing, you've got heavy kind of, a lot of times dark infused lyrics that this really light female voice seemingly floats atop all the instruments. And it's a really interesting, almost in a way, juxtaposition of delivering a heavy sentiment with these really beautiful vocals. And I really enjoy listening to them. And this tune is called 49th Parallel. It really does highlight the vocals. And let's check it out.
I got nothing to my name. His name that I took for mine. Now I'm back in the country with what little is left of my prime. I got the ranch, now I just need a cowboy on that 49th parallel line.
There you have it, Casey and Clayton, a little whirlwind tour of what they have to offer. Now, in the short time that they've been putting out albums, since roughly 2013, they've put out 4 albums, and I want to go through each of those because I think they're each very worthy of belonging in your record collection. We're going to start newest to the oldest here. Recently released in October 2019, their album Carrying On. And then next, 2017's release was Siren's Song. Killer album cover. Nailed the vibe. In fact, Carrying On and Siren's Song, great album covers. 2016, they released Strange Country. And then their self-titled album was released in 2013. Now, specifically, I'm going to need you Acoustic Tuesday viewers, I need you to help me out here. The font used on that self-titled album, I want to say I've seen that font before, or something similar. It's a very 70s, almost psychedelic vibe. There's like this weird, almost paisley pattern within the letters. And I want to say I've seen it maybe on a Burt Jansch album, or maybe a Fairport Convention album. Please help me out. I might be or maybe it was a John Renbourn album. I don't know, which is why I'm asking. So please let me know in the comments if you can help me track down that font. It's beautiful, it's elegant, and it matches the vibe of the music perfectly, in my opinion. So Casey and Clayton, please check them out. To learn more about them and see those performances in their entirety, please go to acousticlive.tv/AT115. All right. Holy smokes, we are close. I'm on my last page of 5 today. And let's revisit your Guitar Geek trivia, shall we? Here was your question. Which guitar company started in 1890, originally operated under the name the Groschel Company? Was it A, Harmony, B, Stella, C, K, or D, National? Well, if you answered C, K, you're correct. Throughout most of the 1900s, the K Musical Instrument Company was a true behemoth of the American guitar market. Based in Chicago, go Hawks, the company's output was impressive, surpassed only by the Harmony Company, also based in Chicago. Again, go Hawks. The K Company had a significant impact in the history of guitar making in the USA, and the company always had a plethora of guitars in just about every price range and style. Founded in 1890, the company originally operated as the Groschel Company and manufactured mandolins. In 1918, the company name was changed to the Stromberg-Voisinet Company and added guitars and banjos to the lineup. Then, in 1928, new owner Henry K. Kiermaier changed the name to the K Musical Instrument Company and began to focus on all types of stringed instruments, like basses and violas and guitars. K also made guitars under a few different brand names such as Silvertone, True Tone, Airline, and Old Craftsman, among others. Pretty awesome Chicago-based guitar geek trivia there, and I'd like to think that every guitar geek at one point or another needs to have a K musical instrument. I really do, because it puts you in touch with that kind of almost folk guitar boom, whether it be Harmony, K, Stella, the kind of Sears and Roebuck guitars. You need to connect with the folk era boom, and you also need to understand how truly unplayable some of those guitars were, because they were really mass manufactured and playability was not top priority. It was more of shelling out a guitar-shaped instrument for the masses to buy. But they were cool nonetheless, and they created a lot of guitar geeks for certain. Well, we are done, and rather than me musing on, Davy Joe W. from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, actually wrote a show ending for us. It's extremely fitting because you know our sheer love of playing darts, so here goes nothing, courtesy of Davy Joe. We've thrown darts at our board, and he clearly knows us here. We've patched the holes in the wall. We hit the edges and worked our way to the outer ring of the center, being sure to move the guitar out of the way. And hitting the bullseye, putting the darts away, it is time to go home and play guitar with some scotch and bourbon. Courtesy of Davy Joe, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Davy Joe, for taking the heat off of me and writing such an eloquent end to the show. We appreciate you joining in today. Let's take a quick sneak peek into next week to see what's going to happen on Acoustic Tuesday. Next week, a band named after a grandfather. I'm always surprised by what I write. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. A long-haired percussive maestro is back. I actually don't know what that is. And the third and final pillar of purposeful practice. That's all coming up next week on Acoustic Tuesday. Remember, you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time here on YouTube. And for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays, please do visit acousticlife.tv to do a deep dive on anything we've ever talked about on Acoustic Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your time with us. We appreciate you. And remember, Guitar Geeks Unite. Cheers. Take care.